It's Stochastic. Here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Sunday morning here with the one and only Matt Belman, Matty B, Fantasy Tips Matt out there on the Twitter sphere. Good sir, how is it going? I almost had another Mini-Max takedown until I didn't last night.
Yeah, I thought I was really close last night too. I usually don't check DK until like the very end. I stacked Seattle. I had Ohtani. I had Snell. And I had a couple good lineups, but nothing that was really that close to the top because there was so much you needed. That Yankees game going to extras did not help me at all. Two guys I had in my best lineup, Christian Walker and Jason Vossler, both like lined out to right at the wall in their last at bats. And that's MLB for you. Had a pretty good week though. Had a really good week in the League of Legends arena. Took down a couple slates, so feeling good.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, it was funny that I was watching that Boston New York game. I won my bet because New York came back, but it cost me about 10 times that in DFS.
Yeah.
As my currently winnings went from to break even. So we're here to fight another day. I've got up to almost 90 tickets now on the DK Best Ball tournaments for the $20 season-long NFL Best Ball. And I would just want to remind everybody that we have free Best Ball content here for you at Stochastic. All you have to do is have a Stochastic account. That's it. We just need your email and a Stochastic account. Don't even have to put a credit card down or anything. But once you do that, you get access to all of Matt Gajewski's best ball content. There's some articles up there, some strategy guides, as well as his rankings for DraftKings, Underdog, and Drafters, I believe, as well. So check that out. Free is a pretty good price. Let's take a peek at the weather here. If I remember this morning from writing my article, what seems like a million years ago, there was a little bit of weather in the Midwest. St. Louis is hosting Washington. They had a delay yesterday. There's a chance we could see a delay today. Probably shouldn't be too bad. And then Chicago does have a little bit of weather there. That is the Seattle Mariners in Chicago taking on the White Sox. And then tonight, the Sunday night baseball game, it all but assuredly will be raining in Boston, but we don't know what the coverage is going to be and if it will impact play or they will just play through it. Of course, these two teams play again, probably they have 5 more Sunday night baseball games between them. It seems like the Yankees and Red Sox just magically have weekend series all the time so they can be on Sunday night baseball. But let's jump into the fun. I think we have all the lineups here. Matt, we're just waiting for Washington. I believe they traded Jesse Winker last night or today, so they could be tweaking that a little bit. Not that they have plenty of other options there with Jacob Young up and James Wood, of course, Lane Thomas, etc. So they won't be missing people but that could be holding them up for figuring out who's the DH and who's the final outfielder. But take it away from pitching. We have some choices.
Yeah, we do. Nice that we have pretty much every lineup in, as you were talking about. For me, pitching, I think there's a clear top guy, Cole Ragans. Good spot at home against the Cubs. Really, really good pitcher. Really, really good DFS pitcher. Just a lot to like about Cole Ragans here. He's been in some tough spots recently. Finally gets a pretty cushy spot at home against the Cubs. I like him a lot. I think after him, it's Bailey Ober. Ober can certainly give up home runs, but he's too cheap for the spot he's in today. He's coming in over-owned, but he just makes a lot of sense at 8,500 in this spot against Detroit. Obviously, the Tigers missing Riley Green, who went on the IL. And outside of his last start against the Phillies, Ober before that had a stretch of really, really easy matchups, and he was good in all of them. And now he gets another good spot, and he was good against the Phillies last time out. Struggled in the first inning, gave up a 2-run homer to Bryce Harper. Ended up with 20-plus fantasy points. So, yeah, I think Ragans and Ober are the cash game duo, and more than fine playing them together in tournaments. I like Ragans better, and I like a couple cheap guys that I'm willing to play. But I do think Ragans Ober is the top two. Crochet, we saw him dominate the Seattle lineup in Seattle, but We don't know exactly what they're doing with him before the trade deadline. Obviously, he had that one start where he threw like 20 pitches, and then last time out, he threw 70 something. It's a great matchup against Seattle, but I'm not on him here given the risk, given the price tag. And also, Seattle is a lot better on the road than they are at home offensively. And it makes sense. Ballpark just kills hitting. Not an added Randy Arozarena, who I like a lot as a one-off today. I'm not on Crochet at all. I'd much rather play Reagans and Ober. I think those are your two cash game guys, for me at least.
Yeah, I would totally agree. How do you would you just, if you were building 150, and again you build your 2 to 5 lineups, if you were building 150, would you take Crochet just totally out of the player pool?
Good question. I don't think you're crazy to do that. I also don't think you have to do that, just because there's decent pitching options today, but a lack of top end pitching. So even if Crochet only goes 70 pitches, there's still scenarios where he's the highest scoring pitcher on the slate just because of his strikeout upside. I'm not playing him in my, I'm playing 4 lineups today. And if I were playing 150, I'm not exactly sure how I would handle it. I don't think you're crazy to do that. I also don't think you have to do that either.
That's sort of where I've landed on it. I'll see what the Sims give me. The main thing, again, is just it's the trade possibility here. So if all things were created equal, he would be the play over Cole Reagans, no doubt about that. But the trade deadline is Tuesday at 6 p.m. The start you mentioned where Crochet only threw 20 pitches, that was before the All-Star game. And then his last one, well, I mean, even we saw last night, Eric Fede could have kept going, but they just sort of pulled him because he's another guy that might get traded as well. So my article basically said I would expect Crochet to be put in bubble wrap until the trade deadline because one, either Chicago keeps him because he has another year of team control, and they could flip him for something this offseason. They could start to build around him. 2, he's outperforming all expectations at this point. He was a prospect, but not quite to this level where he's, dominating in strikeouts. And then, but why risk anything happening for trade value if they decide to go that route? There's a couple good articles out there, and I can't remember if it was ESPN or if it was The Ringer, but there was a great article talking about how the White Sox have, for being a team that is literally epically bad, potentially has a chance to lose 120 games and have the worst record in baseball ever. How they have so many trade components because they got a couple pitchers. They just flipped Dylan Cease the other during the offseason. They've got Luis Robert. They've got who else? Eloy Jimenez. Yohan Moncada got hurt, right? So it's not a horrible team, but they essentially have scored the fewest runs ever per game.
They've lost like a ton of games in a row right now, also
by most metrics. So it's just wild how bad the team is. But they're literally like a half run behind all of the worst teams for the last 5 years. So anyway, down the rabbit hole there. But the point is, why risk that guy if he's not going to do there? And then does he get there on 70 pitches? Against the Mariners, maybe they strike out the most in the league. They're without Julio Rodriguez. They're without J.P. Crawford. They brought in Randy Arozarena, so we'll see. But that was that. Cole Reagans at the apex, peak of his powers. Today will be his 60th appearance in the show. It's going to be hot in Kansas City. It's going to be close to 90 degrees. There's a 12 to 15 mile an hour breeze out to left field. We're going to like the Kansas City Bats. We'll get to them when we talk about stacks. In the meantime, I totally agree with you on Reagans. He's leveled up across the board. His 3.23 ERA, 3.31 xERA, 2.75 FIP, and 3.28 xFIP are all better than they were last season. He will be going against a righty heavy lineup, of course, but they strike out. And Reagans has almost a 30% strikeout rate in the show. So this is a strength on strength. And then my coin flip, I like Bailey Ober. I like Bryce Miller on the other side.
Here's what I'll say about that also, just to interject. Right now, we have Crochet as 30% owned and Miller 10% owned. I expect that to be flipped, at least. Everyone knows about the worries with Crochet. Like, they're not sneaking up on anyone. So even if he projects well, projection systems might not take that into account, but people will. he's not going to be 30% owned, and he's not going to be highly owned in higher dollars, smaller entry type stuff. Bryce Miller will be. It's just the matchup against the White Sox. And I think that his and Crochet's ownership are probably flipped. That's my opinion, though.
I would completely agree with that here. So I'm thinking 5%, 10%, maybe, if I get Crochet at all.
Right.
Again, it's you're asking to catch lightning in a bottle. And we're belaboring this point because, I'm looking around various other sites, and most other sources have him between 80 and 90 pitches today. If he gets to 90, he projects as the top play. If he doesn't get there, he falls off dramatically. So it's hard to go.
That's why I probably just like listening to what you had to say and thinking about this. If I were playing 150, I wouldn't take him out of my pool completely, just because, again, there aren't that many high-end pitching options today. Yeah. And if you're playing 150, you've got the luxury to get, as you said, 5-10% of them.
All right. Speaking of love, we have to give a shout out to El Negro Loco, the news god, who's there in chat, does all the heavy lifting behind the scenes here. So we appreciate him greatly. So back to Bryce Miller. He is 13% cheaper than Ober on FanDuel, which I think is very important because he is all but assured of quality start today. It's about a coin flip on Yahoo, and then DraftKings. Ober is $900 cheaper, so it's very easy to prefer Ober there. Plus, without strikeouts are weighted, we want to go with Ober. Why is that? Well, Bryce Miller doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, and that's an issue. He also is an incredibly efficient pitcher. He has allowed, he has 10 or 11 quality starts, but he rarely goes over 90 pitches. I think this season, I think he's averaging like 93 pitches, something along the lines there. So with strikeouts that they're not there. He had a game, I think he went 6 innings, 2 starts ago, had 1 strikeout. He can do it. He can do it against the Chicago White Sox team, but that's not his game plan. That's not what the Mariners want him to do. They want him to cruise through the innings, put him in a position to win, limit runners, right? He's not going to go out there and announce his presence with authority, as one Nuke Lelouch did once upon a time. So it makes it a little tougher for me to get there. He's definitely in the player pool, but that's what ultimately had me going back to Bailey Ober as definitely the significant top option. So in absolute agreement with you, it's going to be Ober, and it is going to be Reagan's. They are headlining my DK cash lineups. What about Spencer Arrighetti going against an incredibly watered down Dodgers lineup? Unfortunately, Freddie Freeman is away from the team. His 3-year-old son has some sort of illness or paralysis of some sort. It's a very scary thing. So he is over there. Obviously, they're without Muncy and who else is hurt? Oh yeah, Mookie Betts. So they're missing 2 of their 3 MVPs. If you look at the back half of that lineup, it's a bunch of old dudes. At least that was the projected lineup.
We had it on screen.
Who landed in there today? I guess James Outman and Kevon Biggio are not exactly old, but Kike Hernandez and Jason Hayward are. Oh, that's your 3 and 4 hitters. Gavin Lux batting 3rd. Usually he bats 7th. Austin Barnes in the mix, so no Will Smith. Nick Ahmed, shout out for being on the Dodgers. I don't think I knew that. This is a pretty watered down Dodgers lineup. 4.1 expected run total there. How do you feel about Arrighetti at $7,000?
Tools really like him here, which is a little surprising, but then you talked about the Dodgers lineup, and it's not all that shocking. I don't love him here. It's still the Dodgers, and they've still got a good top of the lineup if it's not spectacular right now without Betts and Freeman. Still good to very good with Ohtani and Teoscar. No Will Smith today either. So, yeah, I mean, I get Arrighetti. Like after Ohtani and Teoscar, there's a ton of holes in this lineup. I think I like Tobias Myers slightly more. They have basically the same top 2 pitcher percentage. At home against the Marlins is still a better spot than at home against the Dodgers. But the 1,200 savings is something. Like, I don't know. I don't think Arrighetti's great. He's not great. But his underlyings are better than his actual numbers. So he's got that ugly 5.65 ERA. 4.32 expected ERA isn't good, but it's a lot better. Striking out 25% of hitters, like, yeah, I could definitely play some Arrighetti here, especially he's not getting a ton of love. I think there's certainly a low floor with him always, but in this spot, probably a higher ceiling than you might think, coming into this slate.
Yeah, the 10 days ago, we look at this and be like, oh, if I'm streaming, I'm going to drop Arrighetti. Now you're like, shit, can I pick him up? Is he there? There's some strikeout potential here. You mentioned the Marlins. Are they really the Marlins? No more Luis Arias. Obviously, Jazz Chisholm was traded yesterday. Xavier Edwards has been scorching hot. Brian De La Cruz having some moments. Josh Bell is Josh Bell. Jake Berger is like a modern day wind farm, I guess. He has 30% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. He does have good power when he connects. You've got Jesus Sanchez. He's pretty good. The rest of the team, Otto Lopez, Jonah Bride, Nick Gordon. I don't even know who Ollie Sanchez is. That's 3 up, 3 down. That's frightening. So I like your call out of Tobias Myers here as well. Let's see what else we have. As we are uncovering some of the guys here. So we talked about the main guys. Yeah, we're kind of in that break point there. How do you feel about Ronaldo Lopez against the Mets? Maybe DJ Hers going against St. Louis. Hers has 2 games of double-digit strikeouts. I think he has 5 or fewer in all his other starts, but that's some potential there. What do you have in this mid-tier?
I got nothing here, to be completely honest. I like the top guys, and if I'm not playing 2 of them, I'm going all the way down to Joey Cantillo. Again, it's not a good spot. Yeah, maybe, but yeah, maybe I'm a homer. But
$4,000 on DraftKings.
I mean, listen, like he could easily get blown up here because Philly's good, and this is his first start ever. But this is a kid who projects. He's one of the Guardians' top pitching prospects. He's not like an uber prospect, but he's a guy that's pitched well this season. He's 4K on a slate where I don't love the pitching outside of the couple guys we talked about up top. So, yeah, like he's 4K. And I'll reiterate, I don't love the spot. How could you? But, he's 4K.
$4,000 and 12 points is a pretty good deal.
Especially because I don't think there's a ton of pitchers on this slate that have like 30-point upside. Obviously, it can happen at any point, but Raggins is there, and I like Raggins. So if I'm using Cantillo, it's to pair him with Raggins. So it's not like I have to outscore him. Crochet, we talked about our concerns. And then, after Ober, there's a lot of question marks, really. So are the question marks bigger and more abundant with Cantillo? Obviously, but he's 4K on a slate where I like expensive bats. So, yeah, I'm on him here. He's over-owned, looking at the tools. He has a 6.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 18% ownership. But then you look and see he's got a 40% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. Like, yeah, I don't expect him to be, raw points, a top 2 pitcher on this slate. But I expect him to be like, in the ballpark of a lot of these mid-tier guys, and I'd just rather spend all the way down. So that's where I'm at. Is it a homer pick? Probably, but I'll live with that.
Well, to be fair, I was reading up on him because I was going to quiz you on him, and I wanted to see if there were questions I could ask. So it turns out the main thing that's really happened to him is 1, the pandemic, and 2, cost everybody the year. And then he had 2 other injuries, 1 a core injury, and then 1 I think it was a shoulder issue that sort of kept him down. He's got 4 pretty good pitches. The FanGraphs articles were pretty glowing in their reviews with him. They were uncertain exactly with what he was going to end up being, meaning multi-inning reliever or if he would be able to crack the rotation. But they did say, he's got a lot of stuff. A little bit of control issues, but that happens with a lot of young pitchers, especially those that have had their development track, interrupted by 2 injuries and a global pandemic. So I found him to be interesting. Sort of to your point, if you play him, you're probably playing Raggins, and then you don't have to decide between Shohei Ohtani and Bobby Witt Jr. You can play both of them in your lineups, and it's not a challenge at all. So that was sort of where he was popping up for me just a little bit. The other surprise starter there is Colby Allard. He is going for Philadelphia today. Not really interested in him against Cleveland at all. I'm going to mention our DK Pick6. They are the featured sponsor of the show here. I'm going to drop hopefully it fits. I'm going to drop, no, it's not going to fit in there. So I'm going to drop the link to the landing page in chat, but you guys can follow that and you can get the promo code link that is on that landing page. And if you put in $5 your first day or your first slate of Pick6, DK will give you $50 in Pick6 credits. So that's a pretty good deal there. So Pick6 is a self-contained game, meaning you're going peer-to-peer. DraftKings sets the lines, and then you get to pick 6 of them and decide what you want to do, higher or lower of whatever they are. They are static. They don't change. Once the game has launched, they will not add any more picks, but you can change your picks from the available ones up until your picks lock. So there's a little bit of flexibility. There's some game theory here, and it's definitely going against the masses. So you're going to want to look to use leverage against the masses. What does that mean? Well, if there's a pick that 2/3 of the people are on and it's a 53% chance that it happens, you're better off being with the 1/3 not going that route and accepting the 47% chance that you're right. And all of a sudden you have wasted 2/3 of the field. So that's what we mean by looking for leverage. So check out the Pick6. We do support it with our Odd Shopper product. And then, of course, Eric Lindquist is constantly doing content for it. He puts out a couple videos each day, and he's always in chat mentioning his Pick6 plays. So check that out. All right, let's flip over to our stacks here. Who is your number one stack, and is it the Kansas City Royals?
It's not. I like them a lot, and I like Bobby Witt a lot, but I'm almost glad you said Witt when you talked about Witt and Ohtani, because my favorite stack's Baltimore, and I like Gunnar Henderson even a little bit more than Witt. I think he comes in a little bit lower owned. No Adley sucks, but makes them a little bit cheaper. Colton Cowser leading off. I like Baltimore quite a bit today. They're my favorite stack on the board. My only concern is that, like yesterday, or not yesterday, but 2 days ago, I can't even remember what slate it was on. Or no, it was the main slate because it was Friday night. They were a lot higher owned than they were projected to be against Adam Mazer, and it's a similar spot against Vasquez. So the only thing keeping me off that they won't be crazy high owned is that there's other teams in really good spots. The Royals, as you mentioned, the Phillies, the Twins are in a good spot. Yeah, so I'm hoping that the ownership, doesn't just flock to Baltimore, but they're my favorite stack.
That's you hit on my other one. So I wrote up 2 stacks in the Spotlight Pitchers Top Stacks article. It was Baltimore, it was Kansas City. I'm going to drop that link to the free article into chat there. I also have my wager of the day in there, and I'm covering the late slate because there's a 3-game late slate. We'll hit on that briefly here before we get on out of here. But yes, so for me, ultimately, I ended up siding with Kansas City at the top there. It was truly a coin flip. But the weather is slightly better in Kansas City, meaning it's going to be around 90 degrees for both games. But Kansas City does have a pretty strong breeze going out to left field. There you have Javier Assad on the mound. He is a whole lot of meh. His strikeouts have really fallen off. Walks have been an issue. Power is an issue with him. So we can just go with our usual suspects for Kansas City. Obviously, it is going to be Bobby Witt Jr., but Hunter Renfroe batting 5th today. MJ Melendez, he is batting 6th. Melendez this season has a 231 ISO against opposite-handed pitchers, so against right-handers. So that is always fun to see. Who else is in the lineup? Michael Massey gets the promotion. He is leading off. So they've slid Miguel Garcia back down there to the bottom of the lineup. But that's the guys you want to hone in on. And then, of course, Vinny Pasquantino, the Pasquatch. Always a fun play. Always a fun play. And elder statesman, Salvador Perez. I was watching, I think it must have been last weekend, Perez scored from first. Somebody hit a double and he was just chugging all the way around. It was kind of fun to see there. So yeah, Kansas City, here we come. When you mentioned that Adley Rutschman is not in the lineup today, he's someone I like to leave out against right-handers. So even though he's a switch hitter, he is way better against lefties, like awesome against lefties. And yeah,
it's funny because last year and at the beginning of his career, he really struggled against lefties.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I play him against everyone, but I hear your point.
Yeah, it's a good way to find differentiation, right? It's
sure
not fun, but it's a way to do it. But Colton Cowser leading off, he probably get some cash game consideration there. Santander, Gunnar Henderson, O'Hearn, Mountcastle, Cedric Mullins. God, remember when Cedric Mullins was essentially their best hitter on the team? Now he bats in the bottom third of the lineup. This is a whole new world here with Baltimore. Baltimore leads the league in home runs, total bases. I think they're fourth in scoring. They're averaging almost 5 runs per game, I think, somewhere around there. It's pretty good. So those are the easy top 2 teams. We're going to pay for some of the players, but as we mentioned on DraftKings, we've got some discounted pitching options that will allow this to happen. Who is your number 3 stack today, Matt?
It's a good question. I like Baltimore and Kansas City a lot. So those are my 2 favorites by a good amount. I'm going to go off the board with my third. They've been really good to me all weekend. Seattle. I hate to admit it, but I will. I used some Seattle in Crochet's start in Seattle like a month and a half ago or whatever it was, where Crochet dominated. I mean, he had double-digit strikeouts, gave up like 1 or 2 hits. So if I use them in Seattle, I got to use them in Chicago, right? Especially when we don't know how long Crochet is going to pitch. Clearly he's high on the trade block. Like, I know he came out with that stuff that he wants a contract extension if he's going to pitch into October. Maybe that lessens the market a little bit, but he's still most likely the top starter on the market, or the top pitcher on the market, with Skubal more likely than not going anywhere. So I just can't imagine they run Crochet out for the 90+ pitches, as we talked about as a possibility before. The Chicago bullpen stinks. Seattle's got some hot hitters right now, and adding Randy Arozarena, who I'm always a fan of, doesn't make me like them any less. Give me Seattle as my 3rd favorite stack today.
All right. That is, I was not expecting you to go there. Your key guys you're going to want. Now, the challenge is Mitch Garver, Cal Raleigh, both are catchers. So that kind of is hard on DraftKings. And I want to say, I almost think not that it matters because the Yahoo slate's already locked for their full day slate. And then their main slate is starting at 4:00. But I want to say they have Garver at first base. Anyway, neither here nor there. Garver is phenomenal against lefties. He has been for a long time. So he is very much in play. You had Cal Raleigh hit the home run last night. He has just been crushing lefties. So he's got a 326 isolated power there. Dylan Moore is another guy who fares well. He's actually been pretty good against righties, but he has done very, very well throughout his career against lefties. So Arozarena, one of the catchers, Dylan Moore, it's a good place to start. Mitch Haniger used to be a lefty masher. Injuries have kind of caught up with him over the last 3 seasons. So those are kind of your guys there. And leadoff man, Victor Robles, he had a pretty good game last night. As well.
Mariners Twitter loves them some Victor Robles. Like, they love them. I don't know why I'm on Mariners Twitter, but I am, just because, I play a lot of DFS and I play the Mariners a lot. And I've watched some of like the Locked On Mariners podcast. Like, again, it sounds crazy to say because he was so bad in Washington, but he has been very good in a short sample for Seattle. Like, very good.
I'm trying to look it up quickly. I think didn't Washington just outright release him, basically?
Yeah, they did. I think they just DFA'd him. He always had potential too. Like, Seattle Mariners fans are buying into that like he always had potential and maybe this is who he really is. I doubt that because it's not like he only had like a cup of coffee. He was with the Nationals for a while, always played good defense and had big speed, but just was never, at the plate, always struggled. And now he's not. I don't read too much into it, but Man, he's been like a saving grace for this Mariners offense that had really been struggling.
So this is how bad it is. I'm not even looking at his baseball reference page. I'm looking at his Wikipedia page. It says in 2021 he struggled offensively with the 203, 310, 295 triple slash, 2 home runs, 19 RBIs, and 315 at bats. So that's like half a season of full-time work. His average exit velocity was 84.1 miles per hour. Think about that. That's like a changeup. So his average exit velocity was the equivalent of a changeup, the lowest 1% of the league. 2022, he was about 10% better across the board. His average exit velocity was 84.6, still in the lowest 1% of the league. This year, he got DFA'd after 14 games, batting 120 with the triple slash of 120, 281, 120. That's almost impossible to do. So he was signed by the Mariners in early June. So yikes. We shall see. We shall see what happens. I'm rooting for him as a Mariners fan, but we shall see. But he is leading off today. So there is an option for you. Let's see what the stacks tool likes here. They have Kansas City 4th. Oh, interesting. Am I reading this correctly? We have Minnesota number 1.
It's changed. It keeps changing. You got to update it again. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just because like a lot of these teams are so close, but Minnesota has now fallen to like 8th or 9th. I know.
So Minnesota was at a 7.6% chance. That had them enough to be 1. Now it's Kansas City at 8.6. Texas making an we should talk about Texas. 7.
Man, it usually doesn't change this much. Like before,
no.
You know what I mean? I know why you're laughing because it's wild.
Yeah, but it's all very, very, very close. You have
right
like 11 teams with a 5% or higher chance, between 11 teams between 5 and 8% chance of leading the slate. It's a literal close your eyes and pick your favorite one. But now that we've hit the refresher, you have Jose Berrios not looking good against Texas. So what has happened with Berrios? Well, I'm going from memory here, but I believe his strikeouts are 6 something per 9 innings. It's down almost 2 from his career average and from last year. His walks have been off the charts recently. And if I remember correctly, nothing has really changed with his velocity or pitch mix. So who knows what is happening, but now it's become more and more of a real thing here. So he has been getting by on luck. When you have as many walks as he has and are missing that few bats, you are going to give up power. And he's someone that's always had home run issues. So that's an interesting one for Texas. You got San Diego in the good weather there against Albert Suarez. So they are potentially in play. I like that Milwaukee's all the way down. They're missing. Who are they missing? Why am I blanking on his name? Their MVP. Two-time batting, Christian Yelich, 2-time batting champion as well. So he's out. They're going against Kyle Tyler, whose parents missed a chance to name him Kyler Tyler, which would have been one of the best names ever. I'm very disappointed in his parents. You've got Houston going against Ryan. Is it Ryan River or River Ryan?
I think it's River Ryan.
River, that's a unique name.
It's something. It's something.
Yeah, you've got St. Louis going against DJ Hurst, who we mentioned has been awesome, or the exact opposite of awesome. So we've got some choices here. This is the gut feel. I'm liking that KC and Baltimore have so much company around them. Perhaps that will play out in the popularity as well.
Yeah, it might. I still expect Kansas City to be the highest owned. I don't know though. I mean, it's all really close here, and it looks like there's a lot of teams in good spots, and that's how I read the slate as well. So it's not that surprising. Yeah, I don't know, but I've played a bunch of San Diego lately. Obviously, a ballpark upgrade for them. Suarez hasn't been a guy I've picked on much this season, but he definitely has taken a step back after his like really good start to the season. So I could use some San Diego. Yeah, I like Baltimore and KC more, but I do expect San Diego to come in a little bit lower owned. So that helps. Plus, they're the road team, so guaranteed the 9 at-bats doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, the 9 at-bats is something that's or
for a
9
tiebreaker.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about this before. It's you don't want to do it. It helps because, you know, you need like, you know, outlier type scores to take down tournaments, and that helps you get there.
So, chat, we just need 4 more likes to get us to 100. Hook us up. We would appreciate it. We have almost 500 people watching. We should actually get up to 150 likes, or I'm going to have to do some more reads. Oh, did someone say reads? Why, yes. Yes, I did. So I mentioned how you could get free best ball content. That is available from Stochastic here. We talked about and dropped in the link for the DK Pick6. If you play $5 on your first slate, you will get a $50 in Pick6 credits. And then we have Odd Shopper. That is one of the fellow sites here at Stochastic, powered by a lot of the same Stochastic tools and models, but it uses a market-based approach to focus on wagering. It pits the books against each other, allows us to visualize and see which books are lagging and which wagers are the best. It does have an expected ROI there for you. It has bet sizing. If you are taking this seriously, you want to be consistent in your wagering and your wager sizes, because that is the easiest way to measure your long-term ROI. And it points out the best bets. So if you're someone like me that is in Florida and I have to look at a lot of the bets, I don't make a lot of the bets I would like because the numbers are so bleeping bad on Hard Rock, because they have a bit of a monopoly here. So they don't have to be overly competitive. But it's important to know that. So I am very savvy with my wagering now, because I don't want to, you know, pee in the wind and have someone tell me it's raining. It's not good. It's not good. We'll see. That was not the best example. There we are. Any long shot stacks here, and we'll talk home runs, and then we'll flip over to the afternoon slate.
I think it's Seattle.
Okay.
And then the other just real long shot I'll throw, because I do expect him to get ownership, is the White Sox. Bryce Miller is good, but he's not like an amazing DFS pitcher, especially on the road. So just like the Seattle bats get a big upgrade, the pitching gets a downgrade, and you know, it's not likely Seattle gets there because they stink, or I mean the White Sox, but you know, they're projected to be under 1% owned against a popular pitcher who's not like a dominant ace. So I'll call out the White Sox. I don't think you're crazy to play them here.
All right. I actually liked the under on Bryce Miller strikeouts. That is the that was written up by me. I want to see what it is at Hard Rock right now, because it was a 7% expected ROI. It was available at minus 110 there on BetMGM, and it's we projected us to be a minus 128 odds. So that's a 7% difference on the market. It may seem like, oh, it's 110 and minus 128. The books try to screw you on that. Let Odd Shopper do the math for you, but you utilize it, leverage it. It takes all of the scary heavy lifting out of things, and it lets you know what is a good bet and what is a silly bet. So for example, right now, if I wanted to go for Bryce Miller, it's minus 145. Minus 145 would be a negative 7% expected ROI. That's the only choice I have here at Hard Rock. So that is about why I like it. I think he's going to get under. I'm not going to put my money behind it because it's a losing wager at the math. Understand the math, or don't understand the math, or read Odd Shopper. It does it for you and tells you what you should and shouldn't do. So check out Odd Shopper, $14.95 per week, $49.95 per month. Gets you access to all of the Discord channels for sports wagering. And let's just say Aton can't take a breath without putting out a parlay. Ben Raza has been dropping all sorts of Olympic wagers. That's important because a lot of the books are giving you boosters to use on Olympic wagering. And he has been doing Olympic basketball, Olympic soccer, and a couple other things. So check that out. Check that out. Home run. Did you say your home run?
I did not, but I am going to go with, give me Randy Arozarena.
Oh, I was going to say, you want to say Mitch Garver.
I like both of them, but I'm going to say Arozarena here.
I will be going with the one and only Anthony Santander, because he hits home runs on Sunday. Late slate. So 3-game late slate, 4 if you're on Yahoo. They're including Sunday night baseball. I've written it up in the free Spotlight Pitchers Top Stacks article. It's actually kind of a fun one with some decision points here when it comes to pitching. So you've got Jordan Hicks, who has the best matchup going against the Colorado Rockies, who I think had scored 1 run in the doubleheader yesterday, something like that. I went to bed before the second game was over. You've got Mitch Keller, who's probably the best pitcher, but he's going against the Diamondbacks. That's probably the toughest matchup. So I'm leaning towards Jose Soriano, who is going against Oakland. Did you know over the last month, no team has scored more runs than the Oakland Athletics? They are averaging 6 runs per game over the last month. They have moved from 3rd lowest scoring team to the literal middle of the pack in this stretch. 24 games, they scored 147 runs. It is sickening what they have done. But they still strike out a lot, and at some point, they're going to go back to being not so great. The challenge with Soriano, he doesn't strike out a lot of batters. He does okay at limiting power, but he doesn't strike out. It's like 6.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, which isn't great. I think, and I hope Finn Hader, I hope Seth is watching, but he knows I'm going to say this deep in his heart, even if he's not watching. It's okay to play a Lawrence Butler or a Seth Brown or a Langoliers or a Rooker against Soriano, especially on DraftKings or FanDuel or Yahoo, where we have to play 2 of the 6 or 8 pitchers that are available to us. Don't be afraid to go that path. The other side for stacks, it's going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yeah, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're going against Ilber Diaz. Diaz is a decent prospect for Arizona. Got his ass kicked in his last start. His first 2 starts, he went about 12 innings, going from memory here. It's all in the article. He allowed a couple extra base hits when he had like 7 strikeouts. In his last start, I don't think he had any strikeouts, and he only lasted about 3 innings. He gave up two doubles, a triple, and I think a home run. So I love O'Neal Cruz, who was awesome last night. Monster home run, also had a triple. You can put in Andrew McCutchen.
Did you see his home run last night?
Yeah, oh, it was amazing. I was
480 feet.
Yeah, it was a monster shot. Josh Palacios is decent. Brian Reynolds is still on the bereavement list, so I don't think he's going to be back today. But then you can look to Jack Sawinski or Connor Joe. So you can get a nice little 4-man coming out of this one. But that is your late slate advice here. Did you have any thoughts on the late slate?
No, I think you summed it up best. Only a 3-gamer, so anything goes. Not good pitching options here, so even more so, everything goes, or anything goes, I should say. Pulling up the tools real quick. I'm just like reloading them, so give me 1 second.
I believe Eric,
and yeah, right? Is Hicks still coming in, or do we know?
I believe Hicks is pitching. The reason
okay.
I don't. Yeah, he has okay strikeouts, but he gives up way too much contact, and walks are a problem. Even though this is a crappy lineup.
Yeah, you are in a better spot for the win, maybe. Because actually he's in a. There's pluses and minuses to coming in after an opener. He's not even guaranteed to pitch, so that's certainly a minus. I think the 2 best pitchers on this slate for me, Soriano is the clear top guy. And then Hicks. I do like Yolbert Diaz, though, at 7K. He got hit up pretty bad in his last start in Kansas City, but he was pretty good in the starts before that. Still not scared of this Pittsburgh lineup. I mean, they got some bats that can do damage, but not scared of them. So for me, it's between Hicks, Soriano, and Diaz. Maybe with a sprinkle of Mitch Keller, just because I do prefer righties against Arizona, but I don't love him here either.
I do believe it was Eric Wright that once said anything goes when it comes to hose, because pimping ain't easy.
What, you mean Easy E?
Pimping ain't easy. That's right. Eric Wright. I know who it is.
Yeah, you shouted out his real name, and I was not sure if anyone will get that.
Man, yeah, boy, he wears corduroy.
That was a very avant-garde group there. NWA.
Easy E's big on this in these parts because of Bone Thugs.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yep.
Didn't think about that. Hey, producer Mike, how would we like to do a little lineup generator here? All righty. So lineup generator, one of the finest tools that we have here at Stochastic, that our CEO, Tom Kennedy, has said he thinks this will be the difference maker, not Sims, the lineup generator, the difference maker in creating enough average to below average players into good to above average players. And that is the margin that shifts and makes it tougher for the apex predators to do well, because this lineup generator leverages all tools at Stochastic. So it has the boom bust tool, it's got the leverage tool, it's each of these slates is simmed tens of thousands of times. It just pops out good lineups for you. You get to pick them. So let's look what it looks like on, let's do FanDuel, because people love it when I do FanDuel. So we'll do FanDuel, Mike. You get to pick your stack type. You can go 4-4, 4-3, 1, or 4-2-2. Let's go all stack types. You can choose if you want contrarian, balanced, chalky lineups. Let's go with contrarian and see what happens there. And then you are allowed to lock in a hitter and a pitcher if you so choose. Let's go ahead and skip those. But once you have done that, we can start generating lineups. If you like a lineup, you click save. If you don't like it, you click discard. Save the lineups. Once you get up to around 20, it's a good time to go take a look at the overarching player portfolio. When we get there, you will see on the right side is the number of lineups that we have, or the number of times a player is in a lineup, or the percentage, if you will, on the right side. On the left side, it is the actual lineup. If you click on a player, it will highlight their lineup. So if we clicked on, I don't know, let's say Cole Reagans, and we liked the lineup, but wanted to swap out the pitcher just to be a little bit different. If we felt he was too popular, we can do that by just changing him out, do a little mental math, make sure that it works for you. But see, you can easily make that adjustment. Once you're ready, you can download this, copy it into the lineup template that you've downloaded from your DFS site, and you will be good to go with the lineup generator. It's very economical. It is for the main slates. For baseball, it does use a lot of resources on the back end. So it's for the main slates on baseball, whatever DraftKings and FanDuel have designated their main slate. We also have it, of course, for football, all the slates, like the Thursday, the Sunday, and then the 3 showdown slates, Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night football. And then we have it for basketball as well. So pretty good tool there. It also gets you access to the Stochastic Discord. Quickly round out your top pitchers, top stacks, and then we will slide on out of here.
Yeah, so top pitchers for me are going to be Cole Reagans, Ober, Myers, and Joey Cantillo. Price thing, and he's projects to be a good pitcher in the majors. So, yeah, those are my favorite pitchers as far as stacks go. I think Baltimore, KC, San Diego, and Seattle. So 4 pitchers, 4 stacks.
I think that's a good way to go. I am very similar. I'd add in Bryce Miller to that mix there. I'm a little more fond of him over, of course, we have Seattle versus Cleveland is what we're looking at here. A little more, double the cost though. Double the cost of Castillo or Cantillo. I'm not quite sold on that Mariners stack like you are. But I don't dislike it. I think we can add in Texas against Jose Berrios, and then the good weather that has San Diego joining Baltimore as one of the more favored stacks. So that's going to do it for us. We want to thank everybody for being here on a Sunday. Hit that like button before you leave. And again, free, yes, I'm saying free best ball content from Matt Gajeski. All you got to do is go to stochastic.com, have an account, don't need a subscription, don't need to put your credit card down, just got to have an account, click the best ball button in the upper right where it says free in parentheses after it, and you have access to all of the Stochastic best ball content. Have some fun with that, because best ball is fun. You guys can follow Matt on Twitter at FantasyTipsMatt. You can find me at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Stochastic_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.